Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our biosecurity meetup. Because there's a couple of new faces here, I'm going to give a slightly longer spiel than normal. So we're a group of early career professionals and graduate students who are interested in learning more about biosecurity and pandemic preparedness. We have bi-weekly meetings which involve reading groups and short talks, as you'll see today. We're also actively interested in having more members work with us. So if you're interested in giving a talk or attending a biosecurity conference or just learning more about the field in general, please feel free to come talk to us. My name is Anjali. I'm one of the co-organizers, and our other co-organizers include Tessa over here, Megan back there, and then Brian over there. You can also check out our website at eastbaybiosecurity.org. Okay, so we have 3 talks today, so just to make sure we have time to get to everybody, I'll be quick. So first we have Tessa Alexanian. Tessa is a robot whisperer by trade, an aspiring effective altruist, a prior Bay Area pun-up champion, an amateur biohacker, a former tall ship rigging officer, and chronically over-enthused. She recently joined the Human Practices and Safety and Security Committees at IGEM and is excited to find out more ways to participate in biosecurity. Her talk is going to be called What Can Biohacking Look Like in 2018? Please join me in welcoming Tessa.
Alright, so as my bio said, amateur biohacker. I'm not really a biohacker. Friends with a few, occasionally go to fun hacker conferences like Defcon, but I didn't totally know what to expect at the Biohacking Village. So by way of background, Defcon is this giant hacker conference. It happens every year in Las Vegas, which is a kind of excessive place. This is, 80-foot tall fountains in the middle of the desert. And Defcon is a huge conference. There were about 28,000 people there this year. And the main stages were all of these talks with, completely inscrutable to me titles, like, "We are listening, breaking the smart speaker," and, "You can run but you can't hide, reverse engineering using x-rays." So I didn't spend that much time at the main stages, but there are also all of these smaller villages that are centered around more specific interests. So, there's Soldering Village, where I got to solder some LEDs onto my fun blinky badge. There's Viking Village, where I learned how to break handcuffs. There's a Voting Machine Village, which always makes the news. It's where all the reporters are. And then there's Biohacking Village, which is actually where I spent most of my time. So I'm going to talk about just a few of the cool things that I saw there. So one of the rooms in Biohacking Village was the device lab. And, they had all of these old quackery devices. This is a pneumothorax, which was used to deflate the lungs of tuberculosis patients to let them rest. I'm not confident that this worked at all. But in addition to this sort of old quackery, I went to some presentations, including one by Jen Ellis on modern medical devices. So the security firm that she works for, one of their researchers is a diabetic, and he had this insulin pump. And he found out, the remote control is convenient because you can dose yourself with insulin without having to sort of ruffle under your clothes and get at the pump that's attached to you. But it was communicating plain text commands over unencrypted radio waves. So if you happen to be in the same area as this thing, you could spoof the radio waves and potentially give someone a hypoglycemic attack. Now, what happened, they disclosed this to Johnson & Johnson, and they worked together for 6 months and validated it and mitigated it and then told everyone about it, and it actually worked out fine, and I don't think people with insulin pumps need to be that worried. But one of the things that sort of brought home for me is that it sometimes feels like there's sort of 2 kinds of security. There's the ridiculous splits with the reverse engineering of x-rays or whatever, and then there's just don't use Microsoft Windows XP Service Pack 0, or encrypt anything at all, just at all. And James Higgins is really funny. He has a quote about this, which I'm going to read, which is, "The only thing that I've ever wanted for Christmas is an automated way to generate strong yet memorable passwords. Unfortunately, large swaths of the security community are fixated on avant-garde horrors, such as the fact that, during a solar eclipse, pacemakers can be remotely controlled with a garage door opener and a Pringles can." Now, I don't think there were any Pringles can hacks at DEFCON, but a bunch of the medical device vendors did actually bring their pacemakers and their insulin pumps and other things into this medical device lab and sort of set them up there and said, "Hey, hackers, have at. See if you can break in." And as far as I could tell, there was actually a really positive relationship between the FDA and the medical device hackers and all of the vendors, and it was nice to see everybody working together, trying to break into things. And as far as I can tell, they didn't get through to that many devices. Medical devices are actually getting a lot more secure. And I would sadly contrast this with medical records, which I would say often have the Windows XP Service Pack 0 class of vulnerabilities. I would worry about those more than I would worry about insulin pump or pacemaker hacks. So, in addition to hacking devices that attach to your body, there's also a lot of interesting stuff about hacking the body itself. So, reading and writing the body. I'm going to talk about reading it first. There were several talks about neurohacking at the Biohacking Village, and the one I went to by Catherine Pratt was on something called the P300 response. So what's that? Well, it's an oddball response. It's this sort of spike of recognition that happens after you pick up something from a group of objects that you've been looking for. It's like if you're rifling through your drawer, and you see like the t-shirt that you've been looking for, then about 300 milliseconds after you see it, before you've realized that you've seen it, you're going to have this spike called the P300 response. So how could this be used for hacking? Well, again, it's like something that, pops up when you recognize an object in a group of objects. So, if you hook somebody up to this EEG headset and then you show them maps of the city, or months of the year, or pictures of ATMs, you can actually tell what area of the city they live in, and what month they were born in, and which bank they bank with. Now, there's caveats to this. This EEG balaclava is not subtle. You can't sneak it onto somebody. So again, probably not worrying about brainwave hacks yet. And you need training data. So caveats are there. But people are already starting to discuss whether P300 responses should be admissible as evidence in court. So telepathy, not yet quite real, but realer than I thought it was. You can extract information without people's consent from their brainwaves. Whoa. Biohackers, they take away information, but they also give it away. There was an implant party going all weekend at the Biohacking Village. There were these huge lines of people, really excited to get implants in the hallway. It was this very jovial atmosphere. Implants, in my mind, are not that exciting yet. Most people are getting little, RFID tags or NFC tags embedded in their hands. For me, right now, the pain is, not quite worth the gain. Somebody passed out on Saturday. I think it's actually, pretty painful to get these put in. And I'm just I'm not that excited about RFID tags, but some people are super stoked about it. I talked to one guy who just was so excited to not lose his motorcycle keys anymore, because now he just has the RFID tag in his hand and he just sort of goes up and telepathies at the robot and opens up for him. So he, people are pretty happy about it. And then I didn't want to talk about a hacker conference without talking about information security, at least a little bit. So let's talk about DNA. This person, Almost Human, he gave a talk about trying to secure your DNA if you're doing personal genomic services, so 23andMe or Helix. And I think this is reasonable. Your DNA is maybe the most personal information about you, and it has implications about medical risks that you might not want insurers to get a hold of. I can see why you'd want to protect it, or maybe you're just kind of paranoid. This is Ann Kim from the other talk about DNA security with a slide that says paranoia, it's fun. And you're worried that if your DNA is in a database, the feds will come and track you down. There are precautions you can take. You can use a prepaid debit card and you can use a pseudonym, and you can get your results shipped to a commercial address. And kind of none of them matter. And the example that both of these talks brought up is from earlier this year. People arrested a suspect in the Golden State Killer case based on DNA evidence, and he had never ever taken a DNA test. So what they did is they uploaded a sample from an old rape kit to GED Match, which is this online ancestry database. So just people upload their DNA who are looking for relatives. And from comparing to all of the random people who had uploaded their DNA, they found a set of great-great-great-grandparents that were related to this DNA from this kid from 30 years ago. And from there, it was just a matter of kind of traversing down the family trees using public demographic data until they found someone who's the right age, and the right gender, and in roughly the right location. And it was just one guy, and they arrested him, which is spooky to me. No, I'm not actually shedding that many tears about this particular suspect in this old serial killer case. I think it's maybe net good if all of these old cold cases are getting solved. But I just, before I even knew to worry about genetic privacy, it doesn't exist really. You share too much information with your family that even if you are maximally, paranoid and secure about all of your genetic information, it kind of doesn't matter, because if one of your family members, not even immediate relatives, but someone connected to you by a great-great-great-grandparent has put their DNA in a database, which they probably have, about 1 in 25 Americans has their DNA in some kind of public database, you don't really have genetic privacy, and somebody could track you down with just a piece of your hair and $1,000. So there was a lot at Defcon at the Biohacking Village, and this is just some small slice. There was also DNA encryption, biosecurity, remote sensing, epidemiology, hacking fetuses. There was a lot to see. And I think the thing I want you to take away from this is that even if you don't want to become a biohacker yourself, biohackers are up to super cool stuff in 2018, and you could probably learn a lot from them, because I certainly did.
So I found the genomics privacy thing interesting. I didn't go to that talk, but I wish I would. Okay, so it's interesting. Like, I wonder what the threat model is. Like, so if someone's like, at what level removed does like one of your relatives have? Like, you can imagine that your parents and all your siblings got genetic tests, in which case like most of your genetic information is out there by a little bit of inference. You imagine like only 3 relatives removed got it done. It'd be interesting to try to like graph out like how much you can infer about someone based on like what level of relatedness or like how much.
Yeah, and I don't know if someone has done that threat modeling, although one thing that's really interesting is there are anonymization methods for these large public DNA databases that would let people get most of the kind of medical information they want. 23andMe wants your DNA so that they can sell it to drug companies, while still preserving privacy. It's I think it's called genomic shuffling. There was a paper about it a few years ago. So I think the thing I would like to see is kind of mandatory anonymization things for all these consumer genetics companies. But I don't know exactly what the threat model is. Do you know that, Megan?
I was just going to throw out a couple of comments along the lines of sort of if you're at least a couple generations removed, I think how much of their DNA you have is actually pretty variable. Because you might end up disproportionately inheriting from your mom's mom or something. Whereas you can't do it with your parents directly are always 50-50, but beyond that it kind of becomes actually pretty variable. This showed up a fair bit when I did 23andMe and started looking at like DNA pieces. But that being said, like you can totally find out who in your distant history has had affairs and that kind of thing if you look at it right. So like it is kind of concerning. It also seemed like maybe people not in the U.S. are less likely to have done it. So if you're immigrants a couple generations back, you might have a couple of very foggy sides of your family. But
Yeah, or again, it's this kind of intersection of genetic data and demographic data. So also, if there isn't good demographic data available in your family, then you're a little bit more protected in this kind of, federal investigation inference threat model. I would keep going because all of this is really cool, but we have 3 talks, so come talk to me afterwards if you want to talk more about any of this or any of the other cool stuff I saw at Defcon.